Hello, I'm Robert Jones. I'm your host for Powerhouse Podcast. And with me today are some great guests. They're from Celebrate Recovery. Now, wait, time out. Before you turn off or quit listening, it's not just for people struggling with drugs. Celebrate Recovery deals with all kinds of emotional stresses on your life that have been having you bound and entrenched. So I'm going to ask you to stay tuned. You're going to learn all about Celebrate Recovery. You're going to be learning about Celebrate Recovery's National Month, which is September, and some of the events coming up on the 24th with live bands, food, friends. It's going to be a great event. So stay tuned to learn more about Celebrate Recovery, what they're doing, and how you connect.
Welcome to the Powerhouse Podcast, presented to you by SAC Life TV. Here's your host, Pastor Robert Jones.
Welcome to the Powerhouse Podcast. I'm your co-host, Joanne Johnson.
And I am your host, Robert Jones, and we are here today with Rodney and Terry with Celebrate Recovery. Yeah. Welcome. Hey, celebrate. We need to be doing that song, right?
We celebrate.
No, we don't have no copyrights for that.
Yeah, they would just take us off.
That's all.
We can start singing, but that wouldn't be good.
That would be good.
Yeah, I know. What is that? You know, like in our church, like all the people that can't sing want to sing, and the people that, you know, want to preach can't preach. It's like, why don't we just do what we can do? You know what we can do? We can talk about Celebrate Recovery.
Yes, we can, because we
Yes,
all need recovery. We all need recovery.
Unless you're Jesus.
Yeah,
Jesus,
he's perfect.
Yeah, he's the only one that's perfect. The rest of us are not.
He's perfect. You know what the problem is, though? We do not want to admit we are not perfect.
Nobody does.
No one wants to admit that. We
Except
all want
people
to
in Celebrate Recovery.
Hallelujah.
Because they know it.
There you
do it.
go. Amen. That is so
Except
true,
one.
right?
They got out of denial.
Yeah. Amen. And denial is not a river in Egypt. So let's talk about who you guys are. Come on, just share with who you are.
Who are we? Who are we? Well, we're Terry and Rodney. Been married 33 years. Exactly. Because there was a time that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
There was a very close time that wasn't going to happen.
It was divorce court.
No way.
Yeah, I was seeing a divorce attorney.
Is that right?
It is.
Yeah, I'm about to see one for me too, but hey, here I am. We're good.
Right?
But some stuff about us. I grew up back east in Pennsylvania, small town, middle of nowhere, PA. Small, very blue collar kind of town. Mom and dad were factory workers. Were gone a lot. Left little Rodney to fend for himself. And I got in my mind that little Rodney wasn't good enough, and that kind of propelled me all through my years. Went to college, moved out to California, but at the same time, always felt that I wasn't good enough, so turned to start drinking to cover that up, to escape for that, a lot of drugs, back and forth. Got a good job, though, I was kind of functioning. Got a good job out here. A couple years later, I met this woman by chance at Folsom Lake, just walking her dog. Yeah. But big into the party style. Don't tell anyone, I'm a former Deadhead, so big into the Grateful Dead.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Can't tell by looking at it. We still have our 71 microbus.
We do.
But we...
Did you follow him around at all?
Oh, yeah, up and down the West Coast, a lot.
Okay.
So,
Our oldest, before he was 2, saw 28 shows.
Oh, my word.
we named it Jared after Jerry Garcia, but that's for another show. But anyway, ran into Terry, fell in love. 6 weeks later, she got pregnant. I don't know how that happened. 8 months later, we went to the county courthouse and got married.
Drove our microbus van.
Once again, me still into the party lifestyle, the dead lifestyle, had a job, but was just drinking and using and really an absent father and all that kind of stuff for so long. Eventually, though, after about 24 years of marriage, my life was a mess, right? The marriage was on rocks. The teenage kids didn't want anything to do with me. My job was failing. My career was out of control. I was in and out of emergency rooms, I think 2 or 3 times because of too much pot and cocaine and all that kind of stuff. And I knew I wanted to get well, but I didn't know how. And I just happened to be at a church and saw this flyer for Celebrate Recovery. Joined Celebrate Recovery, really just with the idea of I just want to get clean and sober. And that was it. But got involved, and I did. I clean and sober, became a leader there. This was at the Celebrate, not the one we do now, was at a different one. Became a leader, was teaching, was mentoring people, leading step studies. That's when Terry got involved because she had some issues of herself. Why did you come to Celebrate Recovery?
Why did I come to Celebrate Recovery? Well, about 9 years ago, my husband relapsed. So relapse is okay. but he, being a leader and everything at Celebrate Recovery, he relapsed. And in that relapse, he went back to drinking and drugs, and brought on an extra habit, which was he had an affair, an emotional affair, which I could not handle. So I stepped into Celebrate Recovery because I'm codependent, so I just wanted to fix us. It's kind of like codependency. You want to fix it to get it back on track, but it wasn't. What I found out was the struggles I was having. My codependency was from abandonment. My parents, when I was 4, separated and divorced. Both of them remarried. And all growing up, I was walking in the middle, not really fitting into either family, just trying to fit in and walking down the middle and not really fitting in anywhere. So I had extreme abandonment issues. And I found that out through doing a step study at Celebrate Recovery, of just struggling. And I've learned through Celebrate Recovery in the last 9 years how to set boundaries. This is not okay. And if you step over my boundary, this is what's going to happen. And I follow through. And I have to say now, after 33 years of marriage, our marriage is probably stronger than it's ever been at the last few years.
And that's usually not what happens. Usually as a marriage kind of gets older, it gets weaker, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's awesome to hear.
We like to say this is actually our second marriage
Yes.
to each other.
To each other.
25 years and now the last 9, because 9 years ago, like I said, when I went off the rail, Terry left, the kids disowned me again. I gave up all my Celebrate Recovery leadership. I was really gave up on my relationship with God. But I knew 3 things at that time of my lowest, right? I knew there was a God who still cared about me and wanted to help if I'd let him. I knew there were people around that weren't going to judge me, but were going to bend down and pick me up and brush me off, which they did. And I knew the 12 steps, and I knew Celebrate Recovery worked. So started working the program again. Meanwhile, Terry is working on her part of it. Because you heard she mentioned codependency. Celebrate Recovery is so much more than just drugs and alcohol. In fact, only about 20% of the people that come there are dealing with drug and alcohol addiction. We can talk about all that later.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's
only
everything
20%.
20%.
Yeah.
And usually that's more of a branch cause instead of a root cause. Usually it's things like abandonment or struggles. It could be trauma that people have suffered in their life and stuff.
But we've got people with, overeating, undereating, gambling, anger. Basically, we always say, whatever is keeping you from being the person that God made you to be, or even what's keeping you from being the person you want to be. The person can be the husband, the wife, the father, the daughter, whatever. That's where Celebrate Recovery can help. So anyway, I worked through all my stuff.
And still working
Terry's
on it.
still am. I mean, that's the other thing. We sit here today. We are not perfect. We could still probably be the most messed up people.
Isn't that freedom
out of
though?
all of
It
it.
is.
But isn't there freedom in that statement? Like, I'm not perfect.
Yep.
Nope.
Like, because now all of a sudden all of that expectation is lifted. It's like when people realize that you're not perfect, nor will you ever be perfect.
Right.
As a Christian, I strive to be as Christ, right? But I understand there's no way I'm going to be that guy, right? But I'm going to do my best. But there's a freedom in saying, you know what, I'm not perfect.
At Celebrate Recovery, we actually identify ourselves like, my name is Terry. I'm a grateful believer. I struggle with codependency. And right now I'm struggling with grief because I had somebody close to me just pass recently. And it's great to be here. And the reason why we introduce ourselves that way is because our identity is not in our struggles. Our identity is in Christ. And him always working in it. And one of my step studies, because I've done several now, but one of my step studies I went through, it was more or less God teaching me of, do you trust me? If you lose everything, you lose your family, you lose the world, and you only have me, am I really enough? And how many Christians say, God, you're enough and I love you, but when things get tough and things get hard, is he really? And if you're put to the test, is he really? And going to Celebrate Recovery, I had all my steps and my principles to fall back on. And especially I had the serenity prayer.
That's powerful. I did not go through Celebrate Recovery, but I went through recovery in the stance of, I've been married twice. I'm married to my second wife. The first wife I was married to basically came down one day and said, I don't want to be married. You don't make enough money. And I thought she was joking. I said, well, I want a cup of coffee. She goes, oh, I'm serious. I'm like, what? And she's like, you don't make enough money. I was going to night school. I was working full time in night school. And she goes, you just don't make enough money. And I want someone that makes more money than you. And I was like, So that I did not know the Lord. So guess, I mean, I knew of him. I knew of religion, but I didn't know of relationship. You know?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I knew about the religion, right?
Same here.
And so, yeah, I drank myself and did drugs all the way through that, right? I remember putting Stoli's vodka in the freezer. And then every morning I would grab the Stoli's vodka and my pack of cigarettes. I'd go out on the deck and I'd start drinking and smoking cigarettes about 6:30 in the morning. And then I'd go to work at 7:30 and I'd get off work and I'd go at it again, you know? And I'd do that until I pass out at night.
Yeah.
My second marriage, my wife left and I handled it totally different. I was a Christian at that point and he became my source. So I can relate to what you guys are saying.
Yep.
And a lot of people that come to Celebrate Recovery, even though we're Christ-based, they don't have a relationship with God. You know, we don't say you can't come to CR unless you know Jesus. It's like, no, we want everyone to come in, and it's amazing how many people through the course of that, you know, develop that relationship. And as Terry was saying, you know, we don't just want to get people clean and sober, although that is super cool. Sober from anything, any of those issues we talked about. But we then want to continue that into a relationship with God, a desire to serve other people.
Right.
Because that's a big part of recovery, right? People ask me, why do you do Celebrate Recovery, Rodney? And honestly, I do it to stay clean and sober.
Jesus said, they will know you're my disciples if you love one another.
Yeah.
They didn't say if they're in the Jesus club.
Yeah.
They said if you love one another, right? And so that's what I really like about.
Isn't that like the two greatest commandments? Love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love each other as you would love yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the two basic commandments he really gives us. He doesn't say only love the Christians or only love whoever. Yeah.
Well, don't just love Republicans or Democrats. So don't just love the color of the skin or the race in which you are, right?
Yep.
But be loving in general.
Yep.
You know, we talk about a lot about love in churches. I hear it a lot. Jesus loves you, blah blah blah. But we don't actually act on it. The way I see what you guys do is you actually act on it. You don't just say it. You act on it, and then they know it by your actions. You know, and you know what? That's fresh. And I say it's fresh because we run a ministry called Embrace Grace, where we take single pregnant women that have been abandoned. You know, they take off on them. The guys take off and just leave them behind. And we take them in and we disciple them. We love on them. We give them a baby shower. We support them.
Oh, nice.
You know, and so it's kind of it's like what you guys are doing. And what I've noticed is like a lot of them will say, "I can't believe I'm getting this kind of like love out of a church, because usually I'm judged because I'm single and pregnant." I'm like, yeah, no, we don't do that here. Our job is to love you. That's what you guys are doing.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about Celebrate Recovery. People can walk in and say, I am not okay, and I don't know if God hears my prayers, and I don't know if God sees me. And we're like, yeah, that's really tough. We'll walk right alongside
Sometimes
you.
sometimes I feel that way.
But they can be authentic and walk into a church, and we meet in a church building, but we're Celebrate Recovery. We're a self-supporting ministry. But yeah, they go in and they can be authentic and be real and still get a hug or still say, you know what, that's okay. That's okay. Come with us. We'll walk alongside. And part of the recovery of Celebrate Recovery is you have a sponsor, but you also have accountability partners. So when things are getting awry or things are not going well or you don't think you feel God, those accountability partners remind you of where you were and where you are now.
So what does a step study look like, and what does a Tuesday night meeting look like?
So Tuesday night, so we meet at like we said, in Folsom, but it's not limited to Folsom. It's the whole region. We have people coming on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights from Vacaville, from Stockton, from Marysville. We have a thing called The Landing that we'll talk about later for teens. It's only one of 3 in the whole area. So there's a couple and their family that comes from Vacaville every week. You know, we start giving them gas cards because we felt bad they had to drive so much. But so Tuesday nights are, and let me also say this, I like to say this isn't your mother or father's recovery program.
No.
Right. And, you know, I've gone to AA, I still go to AA, I go to a lot of the secular programs where, you know, a bunch of people are kind of sitting in a circle in a dark room, smoking cigarettes and lamenting. Because I did that. And that's good. And like I said, I need that too. But Tuesday night Celebrate Recovery, it's a community. It's like a church. In fact, for some people, it is a church. So it starts the first hour.
That's cool.
Well, we actually offer dinner. So if people want to come for dinner. They can from 5:30 till 6:15.
And it's not like pizza. It's like chicken and rice and salad. I mean, it's a nice meal. So
Yeah. So we offer that, and then at 6:30 we have what's called the large group. So if you've ever been to a church service, it's kind of what it's like. It'll start with worship, and this is more than just someone on keyboards and a guitar. It's a full-on band. I think our band last night was 9 people.
Yep.
So full-on band, full-on stage, full-on production. We use the church main auditorium because we've grown so much now that we need to. We get on Tuesday nights somewhere between 200 and 250 people showing up.
But that's not all. Celebrate Recovery is a national program, so that's not all Celebrate Recovery. So if somebody walks into a Celebrate Recovery on a different night at a different location, basically it might be smaller than that. So just don't be shocked.
Yeah.
It might be 25 or 40 or 50. So
Yeah. So anyway, you walk in just like going to church service. You have greeters that'll help you get to where you are. But we'll have that first it's called large group, where we'll start with worship. We'll have some announcements. There'll be either a message or a testimony. So last night we had a message on relapse. So they're very recovery focused messages. So sometimes we'll have lessons, sometimes we'll have testimony. Someone will get up and speak for 20, 25 minutes about how my life was in the past, how it is, what I learned at CR, and how it is today. I mean, last couple of weeks ago, we had a woman that it was very tragic, included a lot of human trafficking, a lot of drugs and alcohol, but now she's worked through this and is probably one of our best leaders, facilitators. So that's cool. So we do that large group, and it's about an hour. And then we break off into what we call open share groups. So we have, at least in Folsom, we've got 4 men's groups and 4 women's groups. So this is where you'll team up in a small circle of about 15 people, 10 to 15 people, and you'll share about kind of what the message was about, how it impacts you. So for men, for example, we've got a group of substance abusers. We've got for substance abuse. We have a group for codependency, which is like control and people pleasing. We have a group for sexual integrity, right? Pornography, infidelity, that kind of stuff. And we have a group for what we call life challenges, which is the catch-all. If you're not in one of those 3, you're there. And it's just so funny for men, because before I got into recovery, I could never imagine sitting in a circle and talking about me and my feelings and all that. And I like to say, Tuesday nights I used to sit around in a circle full of drug addicts and alcoholics, and I still do. But now we're talking about different stuff. But it gives a chance for people to share and really get out what's in there. And these are facilitated groups by leaders that they have guidelines and all that. And then after that, we have we call it Solid Rock Cafe, but it's free desserts in the lobby where people can get together and talk. Because here's the thing. A lot of us in our addictions, no matter what they are, like I said, I keep going back to, it could be something as shopping. We tend to isolate and we tend to be by ourselves. But recovery was never meant to be done alone. In fact, it can't be done alone, right? If I could have stopped all of my addictions without having other people, I would have done it a long time ago. But the people that come to CR realize that we need to be others. So this gives them a chance to connect. So
awesome.
So
have community. Yeah.
That's a Tuesday, and then Terry can talk about step
studies. I am actually leading a step study right now with 2 co-leaders. And what step study is we work through 4 books, and it's starting your journey and starting with step 1 with denial, and you just walk through all the steps. It takes about a year to go through it, and it's a year commitment. It's one of those things of, well, I don't want to be here because it's like a Bible study. You can't do that in a step study, because what your answers are, because everybody answers the same question, but every answer is almost different. And it just kind of changes your way of thinking. It changes the way you perceive things when you start hearing other people's answers to the same question or experiences that they've gone through. But you work through 4 books. We are getting ready to start book 4, My Step Study. We've been doing it. We started back in September. We'll finish at the end of September. They usually take about 12 months to go through, and it's a weekly thing.
Awesome.
Driving deeper.
Well, we're going to go more into that. We're going to take a quick break, but we're here with Rodney and Terry with Celebrate Recovery. So stay tuned, and we're going to go deeper into what they do and the changes that can happen, transformation can happen from addicts to being free. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. We would like to thank Mosley Collins for sponsoring Powerhouse Podcast. And if you are in need of any legal help, please dial 916-444-4444. All 4s for legal help. Thank you, Mosley, for your support.
SAC Live TV is proud to sponsor the Powerhouse Podcast with Pastor Robert Jones. If you'd like to be a sponsor, please contact us at info@saclife.tv.
Are you looking for substance in your podcast? Look no further. Introducing the Powerhouse Podcast. Join us every week as we delve into politics, religion, entertainment, and education. Don't miss out. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform and be part of the Powerhouse Podcast community. For more information, visit our website, powerhousepodcast.net.
Hello, and welcome back to Powerhouse Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Jones, and with me today is Rodney and Terry, and they are over the Celebrate Recovery. Now, would that be a branch, a chapter? How would you?
Yeah, I would say a chapter.
Chapter.
Celebrate Recovery is a national, actually it's a worldwide organization. Started 33 years ago, the year we got married.
Actually, the year our son was born too.
Oh, that's right. So it started at a church in Southern California, Saddleback Church, but has grown over the years. I think it's in 39,000 churches now worldwide. We're located, we say Celebrate Recovery Folsom because that's where we meet, but they're even all over the Sacramento area.
Interesting.
And they're all different. They all have their kind of culture, a little bit different, but they're the same. If you walk into a CR in Stockton and you walk into one here, they'll follow the same general flow, but ours tends to be a little bit bigger, more exciting, more, I won't say welcoming because that's all relative, but we try to make it a big deal, right? As I said earlier, we don't want to be your father's recovery program. So when people come in, we want them to feel welcomed, whether they're there for the first time or they've been coming forever.
We want them to feel like family, that they're amongst family, but not being judged for what they're struggling with.
Yeah, I always like to say it's the family I never had.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting because I suffer some abandonment stuff. We just had I just did a podcast with a gentleman sexually abused by adopted father, and what I've always been amazed at is like you have a child, right? And I will forget this. My wife and I we had our son first, Weston. Hi, Weston, in case you're listening. And we had Weston, and he's 9 pounds, 14 ounces. He's a massive little kid. And then all of a sudden they just give him to you and say, here you go. And I'm like, what do we do with this along the, figure it out, right? And what I find, like now that I'm a 58-year-old man and I've lived some life and experienced, had some relationships and met with some people like yourselves, is that there's a lot of damage that happens in our adolescence. A lot of damage. Yep. I know I'm a product of divorce like you. I was too when my mom and dad got divorced, and that really messed me up. It messed my sister up terribly. And man, I would love if parents would like take parenting classes, like how to be a parent, how to love your kids. Now, I know the Word of God for me is everything. He teaches me how to love. He teaches me how to be, self-sacrificing. He teaches me all these things. But if people don't want to look at that, I wish they would just like tune into the parenting classes, because stuff like this happens, and then kids are left in the wake, right? And they're left to suffer as young people and adults.
Yeah, and you have parents that were hurt or are hurt.
Sure.
Trying to raise kids. What do we say? Hurt people hurt people, and it's never intentional.
No.
Yeah.
It's just all they know usually. And that's one of the things that's wonderful about Celebrate Recovery, because it starts allowing you to look at the resentment or the hurt or the anger you're feeling to friends or family or whatever, that they have a backstory.
Come on.
They have a big backstory, and maybe that's why they're hurting. They're not meaning to do it. And then when you understand that better, and they're lashing out at you, then you realize it's not about you. They're dealing with something else, and it's really, and you can let it go. And it's so freeing just to say, this isn't about me. I can walk away and not be angry or resentful about this conversation.
We see so many restored relationships.
We do.
At Celebrate Recovery. We'll see where a woman comes in, and then who's in that shape, right? Hasn't talked to her parents, had talked to her mom, lost her daughter, and then 6 months later, she comes in and she's got her 15-year-old daughter with her.
Yep.
And she says, "Oh my gosh, Rodney, we're together now, and we're getting together, and we're meeting, and I've got her custody back." And then another 6 months later, she brings her mom in. Yep. And that's one of my favorite stories. You see all three of them sitting there together, and that's just one of the many stories that
awesome.
we get.
Yeah.
It's about
now you guys, you're talking about addiction, and in our previous conversations, you made a comment, and I wrote it down. It's addiction is everywhere.
It is.
And can you elaborate on what you mean by that and share it?
Addiction is everywhere, like codependency. It's a control thing. And most people want to control other people. Addiction is everywhere when you go shopping and you buy things on the spur of the moment, or you just grab, just say, oh, I need this or I want this. Addiction's like a want. It's like I want without thinking about it. And when you focus more on yourself instead of others, you tend to get self-absorbed, and then you tend to hurt other people, and then you tend to be hurt by other people because other people are not meeting your expectations. So if you have expectations on other people, you've set them up for failure if you haven't told them what they were and given them the option of saying, I can't meet your expectation, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I look at it as always trying to fill a hole.
Yeah.
Right, that hole inside us that, as we know as Christians, that God can fill. I was a good example, right? I grew up, like I said, in a small town in Pennsylvania. My thinking was, because society would tell me this, that, you need to go to college and get a good education. So I did that, and I did. And then it says, you need to move out of Pennsylvania and go to California where it's, bikinis and beaches, because you'll find a wonderful girl to marry. And I did, and then the society says, well, get married, and then you can have kids, and then you can have a good job, and you can have this, and you can have that. And all of that is true, but here's the lie. And then society says, and then you'll be happy. And for so long, a lot of us have chased that, and then I'll be happy, and then I'll be happy, and then I'll be happy. And, like I said, 9 years ago, I thought I could start drinking again, and, this thing.
Thing, Terry, tomato, I get it.
Chasing the next bright and shiny object when I had her next to me.
Yeah.
And I almost lost all of that and lost my kids because I bought into that lie, and then you'll be happy. Because you can be happy with a relationship with God, but it's not happiness per se. It's more of that deeper joy, right?
So there is like one of my favorite passages in the Bible. Don't quit listening because I said the Bible. Just listen. Some people hear the Bible that la 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 la.
Wait for it.
Yeah, wait for it. One of my favorites from the Apostle Paul, and this is what he said, and I love it. He says, I've learned to be content, whether I'm imprisoned or I am free.
Yep.
Whether I'm in abundance or I'm in lack, I've learned to be content. And I tell you what, I learned that the hard way. I learned it from actually being very wealthy, and then having to walk away from all that to serve the Lord. I mean, God asked me to walk away from 3 companies that were all mine that I owned.
Oh, wow.
To go be a pastor of a little church in the hood for nothing. Right. And so I went from having to not having.
Right.
And so it was very difficult. But what I found is I found contentment in my purpose.
Yep.
And so many people don't walk in their purpose. And so they chase the you'll be happy then.
Yeah.
And then they get there and they're not happy.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
One of my favorite prayers for happiness or that joy is when I face the day is, God, today is yours. All the problems of today belong to you, not to me. Just tell me what to do and where you want me to go and how you want me to do it.
Come on.
That's one of my favorite prayers in the morning, of just releasing whatever's going to happen, whatever chaos or whatever good, it all belongs to God. I just need him to show me which way to go.
And doesn't that prayer end with, and don't let my husband do anything stupid today?
Sometimes.
Husband, kids.
And God honors that, and he blesses that, because that's making your relationship with him. When you give it back to him, that's all he wants. He just wants you to give it back. He wants your free will of you not trying to control things and letting him be in control.
My wife did not like our whole house fan. Okay, it made too much noise because it was the cheapest one we could buy, because at the time we didn't have much money. So, she's gotten raises since then, and so we're doing better financially. So she's like, that thing keeps me awake. I want a quiet one. I'm like, they're expensive. She goes, we can afford it. Just get one. So we got one of the quiet ones, right?
Yeah.
Well, we put the quiet one in. It was installed by a company, and it doesn't cool the house like the big loud one, right? So she's like, I'm really sorry. I blew it. We should have never got this fan. I'm like, you know what, babe? It is what it is. We're going to move forward with it. It's going to be all right. It is what it is, right? Whatever, right?
So you went out and bought a portable air conditioner, right?
No, better. So the guy comes to repair the drywall, and I'm there waiting on him to come, and I'm there. And this guy begins to lament about some things and about this burden he's carrying. And I just listened to him. And then all of a sudden, I just said, do you know Christ is your Savior? Because he's the one that takes these burdens like you're talking about, right? He said, no. So I began to pray with him, and then he begins to cry and accepts Christ right there in the front of our house. And I had this like epiphany. I was like, so basically, we had to pay extra money to get this house fan so that guy could find real peace. And I called my wife and I said, look, we're never going to complain about this house fan again because the purpose was greater than our thought at what we thought it was. And I think that a lot of times as humans, right?
Yeah.
As we get caught up in different things and we'll get caught up in trying for the happiness, when we find our purpose, we find happiness and contentment. And that's what I love about what you guys do. It's almost like you guys strip away all these things that have kind of been weighting people down and go, hey, this is what you're meant for, right? This is what you're meant. You're meant to be free, not to be encumbered.
And we help them find that. And it was the same thing is when Terry and I started Celebrate Recovery Folsom was, what, 5 years ago? They asked us for a while to do it because they knew it at the church and they knew our story. And our answer was always no. We can't do this. We're messed. We're the most messed up people in the church. And
we're still messed
we
up.
have so many reasons not to do it. And then I still remember I finally said, okay, God, if you want us to do it, we'll do it. And Terry had the same thought. And it's blown us away every week, around every corner. Just how it's been growing, how it's bringing people. Another thing you mentioned is how you walked away from the material world. Addictions, no matter what they are, don't discriminate, right? So it's some people once again think that it's really Celebrate Recovery is full of guys who used to hang out in bars and their wives kicked them out and now they come to Celebrate Recovery and grouchy all the time. That couldn't be further from the truth. Right. We've got vice presidents of companies that Celebrate Recovery. We've got stay-at-home moms, who are starting to think, well, maybe that one glass of wine I have every night when the kids go to bed is starting to cause a problem, right? We've got grandmas in there. We've got teens. We've had
pastors.
Yeah, we have pastors coming to that sometimes. But it's something for the whole family. So we've got a program called Celebration Place, which is for kids ages 5 through 12 because they're going through issues too, right? And these isn't just daycare, right? It's programs targeted at our kids, right? Teaching them when we have a lesson about relapse in the large group, they had a very toned down to their age of relapse. Plus they're learning about God and they're learning journaling and stuff like that. The leader was showing me the journals the other day. Yeah, share their.
So you guys have so your curriculum, you have some for like 5 to 12.
5 to 12.
Yeah,
and
then basically elementary school. From kindergarten to 6th grade or whatever that elementary age is.
All right. And then you have a high school or a
middle school, high school called The Landing.
The Landing. Okay, cool.
Same kind of concept.
And then the adults.
Their curriculum's based toward them, so their relapse lesson will be based toward something a teenager would understand better.
So now, what do you cover exactly? So I know addiction. You mentioned some addictions, but do you cover any abuses?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We have several people.
That's part of addictions, right? We kind of think of it this way, is we talk a lot about hurts, hang-ups, and habits. And if you think about it from a hurting perspective, all of us have been hurt in one way or the other. It might have been hurt as a child.
Sure.
It might have been some hurting even as an adult, right? Hurt through divorce or hurt through betrayal or hurt through something else, hurt through abuse. Or it might have been a hurt you caused to someone else. And that's kind of where things start at hurt. And then we develop hang-ups about that, right? Ways of thinking, ways of just sometimes justifying my feelings, ways, as some people say, they might have been hurt as a child and they think now all of a sudden I'm not good enough, right? So they turn to isolate, or a lot of the addicts, right, will turn to escape, right?
Yeah.
But we've got these hang-ups, right, that you're just not living the way that we should be. And then sometimes to deal with those, then they turn into the habits, right? The full-blown habits. And it could be anything. And like I said, shopping, overeating, undereating, anger, all that kind of stuff. So what we do at Celebrate Recovery is we try to catch people before they get to the habit part, because that's the hardest stuff to break. Yeah. But at Celebrate Recovery, what we do is we focus on these habits or symptoms. Like I said, we had like 200, we'll have 200, 250 people come to CR on a Tuesday night, which, by the way, is open to everyone. You don't have to sign up, and there's no cost for any of this.
Where is this at exactly?
This is,
go ahead.
Yeah, this is
890 Glen Drive in Folsom, California. It's over by Kiekelman's factory.
Yeah,
Excellent.
We use Bayside Folsom Church, and you can go to the website, and I'm sure it'll be posted somewhere and find a bunch of information.
We'll have it on the screen.
But yeah, so we work through those hurts, habits, and those hurts, hang-ups, and habits. And the cool part is some people come in just with hurts, right? I'm hurt from my divorce or whatever. We can catch that and help them work through it long before they get to the habit or the acting out part. Because, but part of it, like I said, is people will come with all these different struggles that they're having, and those are really just symptoms of deeper things. For me, it was deeper things that I just wasn't good enough. And I was a control freak, and when things didn't go my way, I would escape with drinking or escape with using because then I just didn't have to worry about it. Problem was, when I got sober, I had to worry about it, and even then some.
We are one of the few campuses that offer the programs for the kids and the teenagers. But our attitude's always been, and what God has laid on our heart is, it's a family in recovery, because if the parents are struggling or individuals are struggling, teachers, whatever, the kids and the teenagers are also struggling because they're feeling the adult struggle, and giving them a way of how to deal with that positively and how to connect with their feelings and how to let others know of what their struggles are. We've had teens come on our campus, and one teen came on one time and said, I just came here to say goodbye because I'm planning to commit suicide. And it was a 911 call, but that teen came back to us and said, thank you so much, because I was not in a good place. I am so glad that Celebrate Recovery was here. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff.
And she just got baptized.
She did.
Yep.
She did recently. We have people that come on our campus that are self-harmers, that hurt themselves because they can't cope and they can't tell anybody. So they hide and they hurt themselves. And they work through the program and they work through the lessons and they hear the testimonies. Gives them hope to get help and to not be afraid to say, I hurt myself and I don't know what to do about it.
So is there training involved in becoming a leader, or are you kind of grandfathered in as you go through the program?
Oh, there's lots of training to be a leader. Okay. But we are what is called a layman ministry. We're not professionals or anything. But yes.
And no one there is paid.
Nobody's paid.
Including Terry and myself.
Yeah, we're volunteer based. But to become a leader, number one, before we launched our Celebrate Recovery, everybody has to go through a step study. So every one of our leaders, before we even launched, had to go through and actually it was in the middle of COVID. So they went through almost a 1.5-year step study because we got shut down. But they have to go through a step study. And then they have to go through some other processes. Our campus doesn't, just because you go through a step study, make you a leader. They have to serve on one of our teams. We have, I think, 15 teams?
Something like that.
15 teams, I think, on our campus. They have to serve for a few months, at least 3 to 6 months on a team. And I have to hear from my core leaders that this person is not about them. They don't put themselves, or nothing is beneath them to serve. So they have to have that servant's attitude. And there's some other steps too to become a leader.
Training.
And then finally, they have to sit down and talk to us. We have to have a one-on conversation. And we pray about it so that we can make sure that God is putting that person. I have people all the time that said, well, I've gone through a step study and I'm coming from another campus. I want to be a leader. Okay, it's a process here, though. So there is a process to go through. So and a lot of it's credibility of what they've gone through, what their struggles are, and that they're willing to come forward and say, these are my struggles and these are my victories.
And a big requirement is they have to be working on their recovery.
Absolutely.
Recovery we're never done with recovering. Nope. Terry and I will be in recovery, until she buries me. Hopefully that'll happen first. So anyway, just to think about it, to do a Tuesday night, it's like a church. We've got ushers and greeters and open share group leaders and all this. It takes about 40 people to put on a Tuesday night.
On our campus.
I think between leaders and volunteers. And so people can come in and volunteer, and we highly encourage that. You don't have to be a leader, but you can be any dinner teams, all that kind of stuff. But
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get more into it. We're going to take a short break and stay tuned to learn more about Celebrate Recovery. We would like to thank Mosley Collins for sponsoring Powerhouse Podcast. And if you are in need of any legal help, please dial 916-444-4444. All fours for legal help. Thank you, Mosley, for your support.
SAC Live TV is proud to sponsor the Powerhouse Podcast with Pastor Robert Jones. If you'd like to be a sponsor, please contact us at info@saclife.tv.
Are you looking for substance in your podcasts? Look no further. Introducing the Powerhouse Podcast. Join us every week as we delve into politics, religion, entertainment, and education. Don't miss out. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform and be part of the Powerhouse Podcast community. For more information, visit our website, powerhousepodcast.net.
Hello and welcome back to Powerhouse Podcast. I'm here with Terry and Rodney, and we're talking about the ministry. I call it a ministry because it's a ministry is for other people, right? A Celebrate Recovery. And we've got some cool things coming up. But before we do that, you said you were in a secular program. It wasn't faith-based or something.
Oh yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So what would, like, if you were to, like, you being through that and then being in Celebrate Recovery, what would you say, like, the pros and cons are? I mean, if you were to, why go to Celebrate Recovery when I can go to XYZ?
Yeah, I think in Celebrate Recovery, for me, I knew we talked a lot about God in the other programs, right? Every program, every secular program, one of the steps is there's a higher power, right? Because all the programs realize is what we don't necessarily have is an addiction issue, we have a spiritual issue.
Really?
And we
I didn't know that.
And we can't solve that on our own. Now, the other programs, they will say the higher power of your choosing, right? So for some people, the higher power is, the spirit in the room. For some, we always joke it's a doorknob. For some, it's my dog. But we can't solve these problems without a higher power. The difference is in Celebrate Recovery, we name who that higher power is, right? It's God and it's Jesus Christ. Even when I'm sitting in the secular programs, it's talking about God, but they always say God as I understand him. And once again, I love the secular programs. They help me so much because they taught me a lot about my addiction and how to deal with kind of the physical aspects of that. But Celebrate Recovery took it further and really taught me about my God and my spiritual life and growing that relationship with God. So we have a lot of people that will do both. I would say to people that are secular, if you're feeling that you want to know more about this God who is your higher power, pop into CR. We don't call you out. We don't. It's all about the newcomer. We make it very newcomer friendly. But that's what I would see, and I hear that from other people too. I hear other people, and I will even say that when I'm talking to some folks that are just primarily Celebrate Recovery, I'll say, I know you're really struggling with drugs. Maybe you also want to go to an NA meeting, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Some of us, especially when people are first starting CR, or first starting recovery, they need a meeting every day. You hear this about 30 meetings in 30 days or 90 meetings in 30 days. Mix it up. The other thing with Celebrate Recovery is you don't always have to come to Folsom. They're all over the area. So find one that works for you. You don't necessarily have to always go to the same one all the time.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's interesting that they all talk about a higher power. And I like what you say, because honestly, I didn't know that. I didn't know what that difference was between Celebrate Recovery or I knew it was Christian-based. I thought it was, or Christ-based. I don't like to say Christian, Christ-based. You know what I mean?
And the secular programs also have the 12 steps like what we have. The difference between Celebrate Recovery and the secular is we have biblical principles attached to those steps.
Okay.
So you have where it's attached to the Bible of how we should live, even according to the Bible. So
I think we need that right now, don't you?
Yeah.
The way society's going, or the way people are doing what's right in their own eyes, kind of like in the Book of Kings.
Right.
In the Book of Kings, it said people did what was right in their own eyes.
Right.
And I think we're kind of in that moment now where we're just doing what we want to do.
Right. And justifying it. And the other thing is we match the 12 steps to the biblical principles of Matthew 5.
The Beatitudes.
Oh, the Beatitudes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Blessed are those.
Yeah, and I heard about those forever, because I grew up in a Christian household and Christian schools, but I never really understood them until I got to Celebrate Recovery.
Yeah. So
It's been all good from there. But that's kind of the other main difference, of course, is CR. You get things like the worship, you get the large group, you get the dinner, you get basically a lot of the secular programs is really our equivalent of the open share groups.
Right.
That's
Just
it,
that one component of the night. But we also offer, like we said, childcare program for the kids. We have a mental health team because what we have found is a lot of our struggles have mental health components to them, right? Anxiety, depression. So we have a team of people with experience in mental health who are there to hand out resources, to connect people with mental health struggles with other things. A lot of people that come in there are dealing with depression, anxiety, and they think that there's something wrong with them because, well, I'm a Christian, I shouldn't have these feelings.
Or they think they're alone. Or they think they're alone.
Please, people.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't
The
think
other
that way.
thing is the other part of the component to Celebrate Recovery and not the second is women meet with women, men meet with men.
Gotcha.
And there's a question that's posed usually. And with that question, what happens is, again, everybody has a different answer of whatever that question is in a circle, but you're in a safe circle. Nothing goes outside that room. So you can share whatever you want or whatever struggle you're having, unless you're going to harm yourself, then it comes to our attention. But otherwise, people can share and take the mask off and say, I'm struggling with this and this is, what's going
And you're
on.
bound to find other people that are having the same feeling.
Yep.
And September is National
Recovery Month. Yes, we're so excited that like it's a national thing that they're realizing that recovery is something that everybody needs to be aware of.
That's awesome. And there's an event.
Yeah.
There-
Yeah. One thing about Celebrate Recovery Folsom is we really try to outreach to the community. So, for example, in June, we took our Tuesday night meeting and took it to downtown Folsom to the Folsom Amphitheater and had a Celebrate Recovery meeting in downtown Folsom at the outdoor amphitheater. I think there was 670 people or
Yes.
something showed up.
Thank you, Historic Society, because they helped us with that.
Yeah,
put
they
that
give
on
us the
there.
Very cool.
for free. But, so we have another event that we get to do coming up September 24th. I think it's in not that long from now.
Yeah.
Is this a big recovery celebration? So it will be at the Bayside Folsom campus. We're gonna mix a lot of stuff in there that will hopefully draw people in. It's kind of I was telling Terry, we're gonna have a recovery car show.
We are.
So there's gonna be a car show there for both cars and motorcycles.
Sweet.
We're also encouraging, if you have, even if you don't put your cars or motorcycles in, bring them. We'll have places for motorcycle parking. We're gonna get Celebrate Recovery has it's called Broken Chains, which is kind of like we'll call it a motorcycle gang component, but
Yeah.
they're former bikers who now ride motorcycles and spread the news of Celebrate Recovery. But there's going to be a car show, and that will, I think, check-in will be around 3:15. Car show will be at 5. We're going to have dinner there, so very cheap. But if you want to come and have some hamburgers or whatever, we'll have a barbecue. And then at 6:30, we'll have a singer from Nashville who goes around, sings like he's got a great recovery story. But he's actually going to put together with our Celebrate Recovery band, and he's going to put on a concert at 6:30. It will probably be an hour and a half. In the middle, because it's still our Celebrate Recovery meeting, you'll see we're going to have a chip night, and you'll see what chip night is, but people can come up and get celebration chips for sobriety in any of those areas. So we'll do that, and then we'll finish out the concert. And then at the end, we'll have time just to hang out, try some free desserts and things like that. Once again, to celebrate recovery. It's funny. I've been sitting here listening, and we're having a good time, and we're laughing, and we're joking, because recovery doesn't have to be sad.
No.
Yeah.
There's parts of it that are, and I don't want to minimize that. I know a lot of when I came in, I was very broken, and I didn't think I could ever smile again. But we see this all the time.
Yeah.
People, it's okay to celebrate your recovery.
Wow.
So
Well,
the chance.
Andrew Marshall, he's going to be the one performing.
Yeah. We've got fabulous sponsors for this event, too.
Oh, you do, person. Why
Dude!
don't you share who they are?
Well, we have the Padilla Bail Bonds. That is one of them, right?
Padilla and Greg. Padilla, yep.
Padilla, that has stepped in. Mosley Collins. You probably see him on buses driving around town.
Oh, yeah.
He'll bring a bus.
He's a handsome fellow.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He's ripped, too.
And then Sack Life TV, of course,
Sack Life TV. I heard that's a really good station.
It's an absolutely
And-
fabulous station.
Yeah, and they have this new face. Her name is Ashley.
Yes.
Oh.
Ashley's amazing.
Oh, it's going to bring all kind of viewers.
Oh,
I'm just
Yeah.
telling you right
The
now.
beautiful
You need
Ashley.
to go. You need to go meet Ashley.
Yes.
She'll
She'll
be
be
there.
there.
She's
She'll
going to be there.
Yeah.
She's going to be live and in person.
Yes,
Right?
yes. We're looking forward to that.
That's going to be cool. So it's going to be a neat event, though. It's going
It's
to
going to
be.
be a big event, yeah.
And hey, I've listened to Andrew Marshall stuff, and that dude, man,
He can bring it.
bro. He's
can
no
bring it.
joke.
Yeah,
he
he's
is
real.
no joke. He brings it. So
Yeah.
it's like it's like a outlaw country kind of vibe. It's like Leonard Skinner, peppered with Garth Brooks, peppered with something else. I don't know.
Yeah, and
With Jesus.
this is one stop in his tour because, like I said,
Yeah.
a lot of the Celebrate Recovery band members are going to play with him, and they've already started practicing and charting out the songs. So
Yeah, they're excited.
There's gonna be a lot. Yeah, I'm going. I'm actually going because
Yeah.
I dig his music.
oh, good.
So I'm gonna go
Save a
and
seat for you.
yeah, I'm gonna
Give
go
you a
try to
hot
get a backstage pass
Backstage.
and give him a big hug or something when I
Yeah,
sing.
but definitely,
They will be great friends.
yeah, but definitely come, enjoy, come early. We think it's going to sell out, although it's free. So, but that's the other thing. It's totally free, no
Yeah.
charge for any of that, and
No cover?
No cover. You know, one of the things about recovery is we don't want people to feel like they have to pay for recovery. We want to give that to the community, especially a gift of you don't have to do this alone, and you don't have an excuse to say it's going to cost me
Yeah,
too
that's
much.
one of the things we say at CR because of how we structured Folsom is no one should come to recovery hungry, which is why we have dinner and desserts. No child should be denied, or no parent should be denied recovery because they have no place to put their kids. So we have celebration place in the teens. And no person should be denied recovery because they can't afford it. So all the materials free, all the meetings are free,
That's cool.
everything is free. And
That has to be quite a bit of a cost. You're feeding 250, 200 people.
It-
Who bears the cost of all that stuff?
we charge $5 a meal. Like I said, they're families.
$5. Come on. now.
$5 a meal. No
Really?
kidding. Unless you're financially challenged, and then you walk up to Rodney and I and say, "Hey, it's a tough day. Okay, here you go. Go get dinner."
You can't get a hamburger for
You
for drop
cannot.
it.
And again, it's
these
not,
are good dinners.
these are fabulous
You know,
dinners.
it's because of just the volunteers and the teams. We have people who, one of the things we say about Celebrate Recovery is you have to get involved to keep your recovery going. So we've got all these teams, and if you don't have a skill that we list, come to us and we'll find
We'll
something
find
for you
one.
to
We
do.
have something called CR Outside because somebody came to us and said, "Hey, I really love the outdoors, and I really I want to start something new within Celebrate Recovery." So we have CR Outside. They do picnics, they do walks, and it's all family friendly where you
once a
can
month
bring
they organize hikes.
kids, grandkids, animals. River Cats games. We've done Sac State games and stuff, and just meet, and at a low cost or no cost at all.
You know, our church, we started doing church in the park. So
Yeah.
once a month during the summer, we go do church in the park.
Yeah.
And I have people going, can we just do this all the time? Yeah, because they love
Yeah.
the outside.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm down, but poor people setting up, man.
Yeah.
Our
exactly.
guys, man. It's a lot of lifting for them poor guys. but,
Exactly.
it's pretty cool. So there's some good things coming up here in the future. And it's a great way to support you guys, continue the ministry.
We're self-supporting. So everything we do on our campus is by donations of people that attend our campus.
Oh, wow.
We don't get anything from Bayside or the church, or in fact, we actually pay them for utilities and stuff because we use their campus. I think they figured a third of the time every week. So we have it on Tuesdays, and then we have our step studies on Thursdays.
that's the
but
other-
we take the whole campus on Tuesday nights, and nobody else is allowed on that campus other than Celebrate Recovery.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm super excited for this, and I'll tell you what I didn't know that really this is something you guys really informed about. It was the kid portion, and that's super important.
Yeah.
That is super important that you have that kind of support structure for the kids. You know, especially nowadays the way things are going, like kids they need some help, man.
Yeah.
That's a great area to have.
Yeah, if your teen is struggling or your child is struggling, bring them to the campus on Tuesday nights at 6:30. We have a place for them, and it's a safe place. In fact, we will tell you, unless they're going to harm themselves, they don't share what your teen is sharing. So it's a safe place for your teen to share in a group atmosphere and know that they are not alone. They are not alone in their struggle.
That's amazing. My previous guest would have appreciated that when he was growing up because he didn't have that place. So you guys are providing an environment where people can come and be open about their struggles and then get support for those struggles.
Yes.
And that's amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Terry, I appreciate that you said something like recovery is a lifetime journey.
Yes.
And having you guys on the podcast has taught me a lot about CR because I thought it was for drug addicts, right? And I had,
You're not alone.
yeah, right, right. And so you really opened up my eyes to like what the program is really about, and it's like, in essence, like a life group. Like you learn to do life together and recover together. So I like that.
Yep.
That's a good point, Joy.
Yeah, and that's a great point because, my very first step study, I am still really great friends with all those people, those women that I did my first step study with, which was 9 years ago. We have a family when we launched here that Some of them have moved cross country and stuff. We're still really good friends. We stay in contact with them. So yeah, it is. It's a lifetime, and it's people that know you that won't let you fall behind if you reach out to them.
Well, this is awesome. We want to say thank you, Rodney. Thank you, Terry.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you guys being here and sharing what you guys are doing. Please connect with them. If you know someone that needs them, please, we're going to put the information there where you can get a hold of them and be a part of this healing process. Hey, we love you here. God loves you. We
Yes.
hope to see you soon. Take care. God bless.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, remember to subscribe, rate, and review us on your preferred podcast platform. Your feedback helps us in our mission to engage in deep conversations that impact mindsets and create a practice of introspection. Do you have an idea or a topic for a show? Message us at php@saclife.tv. Remember, your voice matters, and together we have the power to influence positive change in our world.